Okay, raise your hand if you currently own or have owned a dog. The majority of the class, like the majority of most people, have owned a dog in their lifetime. Some people are 40, alone, and need companionship. Some are a parent's gift to their children to provide entertainment so that they don't have to, and who better to remedy sadness than a dog? Now, how people come upon their dogs varies from person to person. Sometimes a stray happens into a family's life, and sometimes people seek out dogs for protection or traits specific to a certain breed. My situation included qualities from both sides. It was a little bit of output on my part, but it largely had to do with things that were beyond my control. How I ended up with my third dog is unique in how I talked my mom into getting him, to how I named him, and how I decided on him specifically. So prior to this, I already had 2 dogs, so I knew it was going to be tricky talking my mom into a third, especially since the 2 that we already had she had been complaining about. Angel wouldn't stop tearing through the trash in the middle of the night, contrary to her name, and for some reason Kane had an inability to pee anywhere but on her bed. So I knew that if I was going to bring it up at all, it would have to be during a time when the circumstances served me best. So one day we were sitting on the couch and we were watching The Lost Boys, and I saw my opportunity and I took it. Now, before I go any further, let me explain. I have a deep passion for The Lost Boys, which if you haven't seen, you need to work on that minor flaw in your life. A passion that is almost mirrored by that of my mother's. So the main character, Sam, he has a husky, and his name is Nanook. And naturally, the biggest reason people get huskies is for their aesthetics. But that wasn't entirely the case with me. I also wanted one because of the way that Nanook was portrayed in the movie. He was protective, he was loyal, he was obedient. So knowing that my mother wouldn't be able to resist, I say, oh my God, let's get a husky and name him Nanook. And at first she was hesitant because, like I said, the dogs we already had were wreaking havoc. But after a lot of begging on my part, she finally said yes, probably just so that I would shut up. So now that I've got her on board, we call around to some local shelters to find out who has huskies. And at first it's not looking too good because everywhere we call says that they don't have any. But eventually we get a hold of one that actually has 2, a boy and a girl. So we get in the car and we're heading to the shelter, and her eagerness is starting to fade a little bit, and I'm afraid she might change her mind. But thankfully we get there, we go in, and we specify that we're there to see the huskies. And being that Nanook is a masculine name, we take the male husky out first. So we've got him leashed up, and we take him to a playground that's not far from the shelter. So we've got him out there. His chances are looking great. He's handsome, he's friendly, he's excited to meet us. And it's not until we're about to leave that he gives us a surprise. He's sniffing around on the ground around me looking for a spot to pee, and the spot that he decides to raise his leg on is my leg. And so at first I'm staring at him in disbelief because he's peeing on me. But eventually I come to my senses and I move out of the crossfire. And I think, well, that's it. He's made his choice. He's picked me. So we take him back to the shelter, and after announcing what had happened on our walk, we fill out all of the necessary papers to adopt him, and Nanook becomes the newest member of our family. As you can see, I would hope, there was nothing ordinary about this experience, from the fact that I talked my mom into getting him because of a movie, the fact that he was named based off of that movie, and that my deciding factor was that he peed on me. So the moral of this story is, if a dog marks you as its territory, you're meant to be together. But I want to make it very clear that this theme only applies to dog and human relationships. If at any point in your life you get peed on by another human being, it's best to think about ending the friendship immediately.